Obviously, thank you very much, everybody, for staying with us. It's been a long day, but particular thanks to our next four speakers who applied to present their innovative assessment for our innovative assessment showcase, a series of 6 quick presentations about interesting assessment aligned to the principles of CBAS. So first, I'd like to introduce Claire and Adam from the University of Hull.
Thank you so much. Adam's going to be my silent partner today, but he's certainly not silent in terms of support with this module. In fact, I can also see Tony Taylor, who also is a part of this module. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit today about my module that I run. It's called Developing Self and Others, and it is across 13 different degrees across the whole business school, and it's for all first-year students in the very first semester. And the point of this module is basically for them to understand not only their programme competencies, but also the professional competencies in the field that they may or may not be interested in exploring, and also their personal competencies. So it's like all the competencies all in one. So it's quite a chaotic mess, but gorgeous thing to teach. And when we looked at this module across the business school, we identified that it covered things like subject knowledge, digital literacy, which is brand new straight in this year, interpersonal and leadership skills, diversity, inclusivity, and self-reflection. So whether or not you're doing economics or entrepreneurship, the idea is that they're some of the competencies that you'll all be doing in some guise. And the point of really the assessment for this, I'm going to talk more about the assessment than the actual module today, is for them to self-assess against their expectations and aspirations and their career goals, and also show that the learning process through the experience of reflection means that they're going to question what they thought at the beginning week towards the end week and all the way through. So it's quite a lovely thing to teach, and it's in 2 very different ways. Assessment 1 is a personal brand report where you initially come in at university, we ask you to think about yourself, we do some psychometric tests, and then they produce a very short, reflective report using AI, and then their personal brand statement at the end. That then gets assessed and marked over our enhancement week. And then we take them through a series of different workshops until the end of the module, where they will be looking at different subjects across the business school. They'll also be thinking about their different careers, and they'll also be doing workshops with employers or entrepreneurs where they're going through assessment centre kind of experiences to develop the competencies that are needed through all those different pathways. It works in the way of, it's quite the first bit, to be fair, because it's assessed so early, is very scaffolded, and it's around a workbook where you're basically asked 3 questions. So who are you? What do you want to be? And what can you do about it? And this is quite useful. So depending on your understanding of why you're at university and the degree you're on, you may have a different kind of discussion in terms of what that might look like. We're not asking you to say what you want to be when you grow up, because I can see some of the faces on here that would argue that we don't know what we want to be, but to show that process in terms of thinking about why they're doing their degree and why it's so important to them, what they expect to get out of us, and things like their professional competencies that align to their programme. I'll give the example of accountancy and finance, as it's riddled with accreditations, how then they measure what they're doing. The idea is that it's supposed to be a mess, and it's supposed to be them just understanding what the programme competencies are, rather than necessarily demonstrating that they have them, but questioning their own self-assessment of the kinds of competencies that they have when they arrive. That's something that's developed more in the 2nd year and 3rd and 4th year of their degree. So I can't be doing all of that. It's just that little bit. And then they'll do their personal brand statement, which will say sort of roughly what they are and what they want to be, as if they were selling themselves to an employer or to a client if they want to set it by themselves. What will happen is, once they've done the workshops and they've reflected on those workshops, they then start challenging their own assumptions of what they thought about themselves in the first assessment. They've then got the support from the university and the business school. They're aware of the career service and areas like that that can support them. And then they'll create themselves a SMART plan over the course of their degree, with the support of their personal supervisor, to have something really helpful to move forward on. And they'll do that in January. I had to put this in because I was sorry, Adam. I promised I wouldn't, but I lied. I like this model, unconsciously competent, and this is how I sort of see it for the first semester. Is that they don't necessarily know the skills that they have or the competencies that they have. So you need to sort of make them aware of what they need, make them aware of how they might be good at or areas that they might need to work on. All that is done in that short time. And then you go through that process in assessment 1, and then you check it again in assessment 2. Just wanted to talk a little bit in my last minute about grading competencies. So just in terms of what this looks like, you've touched upon this mostly today anyway, but in terms of subjectivity, reflection can be quite hard to mark. So we more look at the learning that's happened over the course of the programme. You've got different diverse experiences before they've started and when they arrive. The grading descriptor is really, really clear, and it's always the hardest thing to get right. We spend longer on that probably than actually assessing it to make sure that it's fair and clear to the students. The workbooks helps a lot with that. The students are learning about reflection and how to integrate theory to help support what they're talking about. And we do notice a much more authentic engagement with the competencies on their programme when they start off doing this module. And also for us, very selfishly, I get to know all about them, which Adam and I do research on to share with the rest of the business school, which helps and informs other colleagues as they go through their delivery with them in later years. I think that's 6 minutes.
Pretty much spot on to the minute, so well done there.